Hello,
Hey.
everyone. Hey, Jen, you need to
Hey,
wait for the cue,
hey
please.
everyone.
Wait for the cue, please. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Do You Convert Live episode. We stopped counting. We
Yeah.
are here, as always, with,
Jen Barkin.
yes, Jen
And
Barkin. Mike Lyon, we're glad to have you. If you're here joining us, say hello. Please
yes,
do chat hello. We always like to see who's here just so we can call you out live in
we
front of
don't have
everybody.
we don't have any friends. This is the only chance we get to talk to people.
So, hey, Jen, I'm going to ask this question to you first, and I
Yeah.
want to ask this to everybody else. I'll actually fire it up here on the screen. What is something that surprised you during these
Mm.
past 2 months in this COVID Rona rules world? And we're asking
That's
that to the audience too. What has surprised you? Something that you're like, wow, I didn't expect that. So, Jen, you go first, and I'll give you mine.
that's a great question. I think what has surprised me most is the amount of continued interest,
Oh, yeah.
for new homes, especially with our friends in Texas.
Oh,
Um,
gotta give
Hey,
the salute.
listen, I heard something really interesting on a call yesterday where somebody said that people are calling in. This was a builder in Texas, and they're saying, I want to move to Texas to get away from COVID, where I
Mm.
currently live, because there's more room in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? And there's more freedom. I'm not, have to stay in my home in Texas because the rules are a little lax there. And I said, are you seriously, like, people are actually saying that? And they were like, yeah, people are saying that.
That is, you all, it's the Midwest. And yes, Kim says you look
Yeah.
awfully tan. I'll have to adjust my color spectrum there for you. But I have
You
been
know,
tanning.
Kim, I thought the same thing. I didn't say it, but I did think that you looked tan the other day.
I'm sitting in my hot tub a lot. It's my safe place and letting the sun just shine down upon me. So I'll
All
put some
that,
sunscreen on
all
you.
that walking, all that walking you're doing too.
Walking every night, yes. Yeah, it is surprising what's going on out there. Different markets are
Yeah.
definitely different. What surprised me, everybody, and tell me if you've seen some of this. I want to hear from the audience too on this. I am surprised by some of these markets. Virtual appointments are like not that big of a deal. Customers don't want them.
Yeah.
One
Hmm.
one builder I was talking with the other day, out of all of April, they set, I don't know, 30 plus appointments, and only 4 of them are virtual.
Yeah.
Again, Midwest state, maybe that
Hmm.
has something to do with it. Rona doesn't exist there, but that was
Yeah.
always interesting to me. So a lot of surprising things. Hey, we are opening back up. Here's what Jimmy says. Jimmy says way more realtors than normal, usually 30 to 70%
Yeah.
of realtors versus regular folks. So Jimmy, why do we think there's more realtors? Tell Jimmy why. They ain't got nothing to show, folks. They need safe, clean homes to show. That's why they're coming out. So we love our realtors, especially right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's what's happening. A lot of good stuff going on. We've got a quick little Facebook Live with you today. We've kind of taken a little bit of a breather. We were webinar live, video
Yeah.
camered out, and so we're back now. A couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some numbers, what's going on, reporting, all that stuff. I think there's some interesting things that we found out. We're going to talk about lifting our no prospecting orders.
Oh,
Everybody's like,
we're not going to be, nobody's going to like
no,
us anymore.
no, I liked it better when you said no prospecting, Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're seeing a lot of people add to their online sales team, both temporarily and permanently. So we want to talk about a couple of best practices for you there. So that's what's
Hmm.
coming up on Do You Convert Live. And then we'll also answer questions from you lovely folks that are tuning in. So thank you. Yes, Sean, you can read all those books. I have read every single one. People ask me that. Even this one. They go, have you really read this book? The World is Flat. That's a fat book. And the answer is yes, I have read that book. So, all right, Jen, let's talk about reporting. Here's something that's interesting that we've seen.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody's getting so excited, and they're going, even on webinars and stuff like that, we're seeing in trainings, they're going,
Yeah.
website traffic's up, leads are up. This
Hmm.
is consumer interest. Appointments are up, all this, and they're all excited about it. And I am maybe the pessimist out there. All right. So, yes, do we see continued business activity? Yes, but we are kind of applying pre-COVID metrics to a COVID/post-COVID world.
Hmm.
And here's my theory. Well, it's not a theory. I know it's a fact because I've seen the numbers. We are actually stealing traffic from walk-in. Okay,
Yes.
so we're stealing. Online traffic is staying the same or increasing a little bit, and appointments are increasing a little bit, but we are stealing that from what used to be our walk-ins.
Right.
Okay, because there's not really happening that way, or customers are just naturally going to our website because we're talking virtual, preaching virtual, everything's virtual, virtual this, virtual that, and they're going through our website. So I kind of liken to this, builders, if they're not careful and really looking at the numbers deeply, it's like restaurants going, curbside pickup is through the roof, everybody. It's here to stay. This is our curbside pickup has increased 700%. And it's like, that's the only way you can pick up food.
Right.
And right now, in a lot of markets, online is the most promoted or, the best way for them to shop. So I just want everybody to be very careful when they look at numbers and focus on this. Focus on the quality of appointments and actual sales happening from the appointments. So until we see that start to move and follow the same path, don't get too excited because we're shoving everything through the online sales program. What are your thoughts on that, Jen?
Yeah, everything's, you are absolutely right. It doesn't mean that, your online salespeople are crazy busy because everything is going to them. But just be careful that you don't like hang your hat on all of that as like total, shift, like a total permanent shift. Right. And the other thing that you need to make sure that you're really measuring or breaking out is differentiate between the types of appointments that you are setting. Everything counts. Everything counts right now, but you definitely want to make sure you're making note of, was this a phone appointment? Was this a virtual appointment? Was this an in-person appointment? So you can kind of differentiate that. And also the type of traffic, like if any of you are having, some builders are putting a sign on the door saying, hey, you got to call this number because you're closed, right? And the numbers are routing to the online salespeople. Make sure you're differentiating between that type of call-in traffic.
Yeah.
It's not regular online call-in traffic. It's actually walk-in at your door, model door traffic. So make sure you have a way to differentiate that too.
Yeah, we saw that very specifically. A builder was saying, our appointments are up. And we're like, what are you guys doing? Tell us the secret. This is amazing. And then we dived into the actual numbers that we're getting the calls. And I go, what's that number? And they go, oh, that's on the sign. Customers can't walk in the door and they got to go here. So again, not to harp on this whole thing, but my surprise at the beginning was virtual isn't happening as much. We've also heard a lot of people say, oh, virtual is the future and it's here to stay. I don't want to sound like the old man, but just going back.
But that's we'll talk about that later.
Thank you. Another episode. But yeah, I don't want to be like, oh no, virtual, but it's the same as the restaurants. Curbside pickup here isn't here to stay. The second I can get out safely and get away from my kids, I'm going on date night.
Right.
And the second customers feel great about going into a home, and we're seeing this in Midwest states, they do not care. They're coming out. If they can drive, they're coming out. So yes, virtual will play a part post and pre-appointment, but it's not going to be the only thing that's happening in most cases. So just want to throw that one out there. I'd love to hear from the chat out there to see if anybody agrees, disagrees.
Yeah, I think too. Obviously, it's still such a huge investment, right? People are still going to need to come out and touch and feel and meet in person. But I think one thing I hope that does stay is that that's on-site salespeople use virtual, use video after the appointment to follow up, use it in your follow-up process. I think that will be huge if you can still leverage those tools post-COVID,
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So we're Robin from the Midwest says amen, right? Yes. Of course. Yeah. She saw that, right? Heidi, Pacific Northwest says totally agree. Okay. So we're getting some feedback from online sales specialists who in their mind, they want to set as many appointments as possible. So they're appointment neutral. They don't care. Phone, virtual, on-site, but we're seeing what customers are kind of telling us and we're getting a glimpse of this. So let's shift gears just a little bit, folks. You've heard us say this, don't prospect, quote, in quotes, the way that we used to. Don't prospect the way that we used to, but we still prospect. But basically, your old style of prospecting, trying to reach out to non-responsive leads, see if they're in the market. We say, stop that during this until we give you the orders to start. Right. Well, here we go. Officially, mark it down. May 14th, no prospecting orders have been lifted. Go get them. right?
Yeah.
Go out there and reach out to your customers, reach out with the right language. And I want to really talk to you about this. A Mike Lyon original, Jen. It's
I'm
rare.
so excited.
It's rare, but people
Write this down.
Write this down. So people push back on prospecting because it's hard. Okay. And so now it's going to be a little bit hard and dicey as we go through this and start pick up prospecting again. But my question to you is this: are you an appointment setter or an appointment getter? Oh, I mean, think about that. What do you mean appointment setter? Like, listen, anybody can set appointments. Someone call in and have a good conversation. I want an appointment. Easy. You going out there and finding the customers and diving in that database and getting appointments, it's not easy. So we got to start building that muscle back up and doing it the right way. But the message is important, Jen. So what kind of message? You coach a lot of online sales specialists. What are you telling them to send via email and talk about on the phone?
Yeah, here's what I think. So first of all, we still have to be empathetic because not everybody is feeling the same way about this, right? You're still going to have some people who are not ready to go out. So you have to ease into this dialogue carefully. So, sending out a mass mail and then following up with a phone, you can kind of have a similar message, but saying something like, as we begin to phase back into normal, I wanted to reach out to you and see how you're doing. Are you ready to continue your new home research with us? We are available and would love to connect. Please let me know if your situation has changed. Something simple like that. Remember, we want this to look personal. We don't want it to look mass mail-y marketing like. This is a personal outreach in mass to your non-responsive leads, to your responded nurture leads, to really everybody, just to kind of get a pulse check. And then you can use that same dialogue when you're picking up the phone and calling. Follow back up with a phone call. Hey, I know you probably weren't expecting my call. I just wanted to reach out to you, check in. Everybody's coming out from, behind closed doors and just wanted to see how you're doing and see what, if your situation has changed.
Yeah, I think the message is perfect. And you know what we're going to say here, right? We talked about sending an email. We talked about calling. But one of the best ways to convey warmth and empathy is with your voice and your face and a smile, right? So even a mass follow-up video email.
Absolutely.
Saying that same thing, right? Because sometimes it's hard to put in the email. This is a kind of a tricky little conversation, but say it with your face, right? Just don't say it with a mask over your face.
Please don't.
No,
please don't drive around in your car either with your mask.
Yeah, we had to talk. Who out there? Okay, for those of you on, how many of you guys have seen people driving in the car with masks over their face, driving in the car, and go? That doesn't make any sense, right? Does that make any sense to you guys? Tell me if you've seen that out there. I want to know.
Not Maybe shaming anybody.
No shame.
No
shame.
No. Do you, boo?
So prospecting, Jen.
Yes.
I feel like there's been a little atrophy potentially because what has happened is online sales is automatically starting to getting more calls from everybody and their brother. More is directed towards them. And they're like, I can't even prospect. I'm so busy. So what are your thoughts on getting that muscle memory back? What do you think?
So just like I tell my husband when he's talking about working out, but doesn't, I'm like, you have to start.
This is not the place to shame. Andrew, I am. If you watch this in the future, that is not okay with me. I'm just saying.
He's not watching, but listen, you guys, you just have to start. You have to start somewhere. You have to start working it, start with, like Mike was saying, start with the video message. Then you've got to designate. You can't willy-nilly. It's not like, oh, I've got 10 minutes. I'm going to try to get this done. You have to designate some time. Look at your call rail and figure out when your lowest volume of inbound calls is.
No, that's huge right there.
And figure out, okay, I've got a window here for an hour. This is when I'm going to sit down. I'm going to focus some energy on prospecting. If you have a teammate, and we're going to talk about teammates in a minute, but if you have a teammate, you guys can leverage each other to say, hey, I'm going to have some focused time on the phone. Can you take all incoming calls for the next hour? I'm going to work on, hitting the phones and focus on this. And then you guys switch and you switch the calls over, and then you work on some prospecting. But you have to, just like working out, eating better, anything that you're trying to get into a discipline or rhythm of doing, you have to start and you have to stick with it. And you have to have a designated plan of action on your calendar to do it, or it ain't happening otherwise.
The recent Market Proof Marketing podcast from Kevin, he had Brian Borrero on from 1000 Watt, and he said something that was great, because Kevin was talking about 100 episodes of the podcast, and Brian goes, that's called stamina.
Yeah.
Right. And I think so much of prospecting is not just like a big mad rush and it's a sprint. Prospecting is a freaking marathon, man. And it takes stamina. So you start a little bit every day, you build up and you build up. Kind of like that movie, Brittany runs a marathon. She didn't just run out there and start running 5 miles. She just went to the end of the street and back.
Right.
Right. And so the same concept with prospecting, just go to the end of the street and back tomorrow. And then the next day go a little bit further, and the next day go a little bit further. But you got to get back in the rhythm, friends, because soon it's going to go back to kind of how it was. And if we weren't touching base with people and we weren't checking in, it's going to be a problem for your database. It's going to grow old and stale and gross. And we don't like that.
That's true.
And it's okay if they're telling us that they're out of the market. We're fine with that, right?
Like old smelly cheese, right? You got
to. We don't like that. We don't like that.
Yeah. List hygiene. If anything, you're going through and you're figuring out, where are people at in life? Do I need to move them off my radar so I can focus on the people that are still in the market?
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So we're going to take some questions from you guys at the end. Look, I'll flash this little thing up on the screen here just so you guys know that we will do it. So you post your questions and we will answer. So get those fired up and we'll go back and look at them. But the final thing here is we're seeing amongst all the socials, right? All these different groups and stuff on Facebook, people are talking about, hey, I got a new team member. How do we do this? How do we pay? How do we split up? How do we divide? How do we rotate? When should we add? What's right? What about this temporary person? So we wanted to just jump on with you and give you the gospel according to Jen and Mike and Do You Convert on adding your online sales teammate. And I see some people on who have teammates. Jesse, I see you out there, so you can help with this. Some others who have teammates. Listen, right now we're having to either add a temporary person to really help with call flow, overflow, volume, all these leads coming in. Totally great. The second thing that we're seeing is actually builders paying attention, sitting up, going, oh, online sales is a big deal. We don't need to keep relying just on only one person who's overworked all the time and never gets a day off. Let's get them a teammate. So they're adding teammates, which, yay, we're excited.
So awesome.
But then here's what we get. I'm the online sales specialist going, wait a second, I get a teammate. Well, how are we going to divide this? Who's getting what leads and when are they getting it? Who's taking the phone calls and how are we going to get paid? Are we all getting paid on this the same? How do we split it up? What's going on? What about reporting? How does it all roll up to the top? These are the questions that we have. So Jen, let's just talk about a couple of key things when you're adding teammates to the, and we'll just give you how it is, right? What we've seen work the best. But Jen, why don't you start big and then let's get in smaller. So like big thought says you're adding a teammate. What are some things?
Big thoughts. First of all, you want to kind of pay attention to, when is the right time to add? You want to make sure you're looking at your bandwidth, the amount of leads that you're managing. Once you get above a certain amount, there's no way that you can possibly manage all of that. So that's your signal. Plus, if you feel like you want to throw your phone across the room, that's probably a good indication that you need some help. So, okay. So you've decided it's time, right? Please don't just throw somebody in there. You got to have the right person. It can't just be like, hey, Jen over there in, marketing can take on some stuff. Let's throw her in the role. Make sure that you are hiring the right type of person for this position, right? Not just anybody can do this job. Right. So, put them through a little mini, interview process. We have a whole blog on how to hire an online salesperson from start to finish. We call it the gauntlet interview process. All the interviews are conducted on the phone. Why? Because this is how that person's going to be managing leads and talking with people. Make them do a video email, things like that. So that's the first thing, is finding the right person.
Yeah, I think that's important. And Kim says, don't take them from marketing, right? okay, we won't steal them from marketing. But also, here's the other thing: is don't send us bad salespeople. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I got the salesperson who's not so good. Go them to online sales. Don't do that
Yeah.
either. Right. So that's really good.
That's
What
true.
about how do we divide this stuff up? Because a lot of people, what we've seen when they add a team, they go, well, now we're working as a team. Let's take and go
only
ahead
give
and
them
yeah,
one kind of
lead, or we'll say, basically everybody, this is all a big group now. So we're sharing commissions on appointments and sharing commissions on sales. What are your thoughts on that, Jen?
Oh, that's a good point. So, we've seen it work both ways. We've seen it, not work both ways. We've seen it set up both ways. And the way that it works best is that everybody, you divide and conquer. You divide the leads individually. So if a lead goes to Mike, it's his lead. He takes it to the finish line. He manages it. He does the follow-up process. He's paid on that lead. If the lead comes to me, it's my lead. So you're not sharing commissions across the board. You get paid on what you kill, basically.
Easy, Taco.
You get paid on what you convert.
Right.
You get paid on what you convert.
Yeah, that's why we say, do you convert, not do we convert. And that's something to think about there, because that's showing us direct performance. And so, yes, you can make a case for, well, what if they're off and I'm off and they handle this? And listen, here's the deal. It's your lead. It's called lead ownership. You own it from the moment you work it till the moment you set an appointment and move it on. Now, there's going to be times when you're off or they're off, and you've got to work that out, but it all evens out. There's going to be times when they're on a vacation for 7 days. And you're getting all their people calling back into you. That's fine, because when you go on vacation, all your people are going to be calling them, and it all works out. This whole sharing is caring thing, we don't like that shared sales floor in the on-site world, and we don't like it in the online world. So you focus on yourself. So that's how we talk about splitting that up, and you split up performance and metrics and everything in between. So
a couple of other things as we're talking through this. If you are a solo online sales specialist and you have that, control, like, oh, what is this going to do to my income, or what is this going to do to my performance if we add another team member? Guys, I'm here to tell you that you will actually perform better. Like, you will have more bandwidth to be able to manage your leads better, which in turn you will have better conversion. You will have better appointments and sales. So don't have, I understand it's real. I mean, I remember feeling the same way. Like, I don't want to give up control, but having actual days off, having, in turn, more productivity, being able to proactively think and not just being under, on the hamster wheel all the time. All of those things, I can't think of any negatives, really.
That's right.
I mean, and, the other thing we're talking about splitting up and looking at performance. Yes, your online sales program you'll look at an overall performance for both of you together, right? This is what your program is doing. But like Mike was saying, it's important that you break it up and show these are how many leads Mike had, and this was his performance, and this is what Jen did, and this was her performance. So you can address if somebody's, lagging or not carrying their weight, in the team. And
here's the other thing I'll tell you too. Usually the reflex response or the fear is based on two things. It's an online salesperson, and we've been there. We are all online salespeople. It's us thinking about us and not the customer.
Right.
And I'm sorry to say this, online sales professionals out there, it's not about you, it's about the customer. So if the customer is not getting the best experience every single time, then you need help. The second part is usually the people who freak out are appointment setters, not appointment getters. Because the appointment setters want as many people calling into them, and they cherry pick, and it's the easiest thing ever. Appointment getters go, good, this gives me more time to dive deeper with my prospects. This gives me more time to go deeper. And so you'll figure out, like, if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have as many leads. It's like, yes, you do. They're just not new leads. You got a lot of leads. That's why we're hiring the second person. So it's just a shift in mindset. Right? So.
And remember, prospecting, is really a first priority. That is something that you should be doing on a regular basis. And if you are not able to get to it because you have so many leads coming in, then that is where you need another person,
That's right.
You need another person.
All right, so we're shifting gears. We're going to answer some questions. I see him
Okay.
coming in, so this is good.
Oh.
We'll start with Andy. Andy says, I get nothing but voicemail. What's your COVID message? Now, here's the thing. That's not really any different. We were getting nothing but voicemails before COVID, so now we are getting them during COVID. So, Jen, on the spot, what would you say? What kind of voicemail would you leave?
Oh, I would leave a voicemail and say, hey, Andy, this is Jen Barkin with Happy Acres.
Of course, Happy Acres. We got to have Happy Acres.
Just wanted to reach out to you, as we're coming out of phase one, wanted to see how you're doing. I am here and working today and would love to connect with you. Please give me a call at your convenience. Here's my number, or you can text me at this number. I really look forward to talking with you and would love to see how you're doing.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's still that empathetic tone that because like I said, when we were talking about prospecting, you don't necessarily know where this person is at. So you don't want to come in hot with the following up on your inquiry that you made, 2 months ago, or, so having that empathetic tone is still really important right now.
And my version of that voicemail is, hey, this is Mike, check your email. I just sent you something, right? So we can go shorter too and say, my thing is always, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm a real person. I'm here in the office today and I just sent you an email. If that's more convenient too, we're checking in to see if your situation has changed and where you're in the home search process. So I'm here, whatever's convenient for you. Call, text, or email. I'm here. Yeah. Right. So it's just, that's all it is. That's the voicemail. Yeah. Don't overcomplicate it. Just leave it.
Leave it.
Don't leave voicemails. Leave voicemails. Mm-hmm. You already answered the call, the phone, leave a voicemail. Now, Ruben puts a question up here, which is going to be super small. We're going to read it. So here's Ruben. He basically is saying, how much qualifying should I do? Ruben, that is a great question. If you're just getting name and information, trying to get an appointment, that's not enough. Our philosophy at Do You Convert and for all online sales specialists is you have to appropriately qualify customers with 5 different things. Ready, Jen? What are they?
Area, time frame, wants, needs, and desires, investment range, and authority.
Yep.
Who's involved?
And motivation underneath wants, needs, and desires.
Yes,
so we've tagged on motivation. So you've got to be going through, you may not get the answers to all those questions, Ruben, but you need to be asking them, especially where we want to make sure the traffic that's walking in physically is at least in a direction that's right. We don't have to deep dive into their dissatisfaction and everything else and talk about all this stuff. We don't have to go and do what the salesperson's doing. But we're appointment getters, not setters, and we're not receptionists, which means we have to do a little bit of that front end sales process to make sure that these people, and write this down, Ruben, appropriately qualified. That's what we're trying to do.
I love that question so much, Ruben, because, during COVID, we were more quick to do the handoff because it was like, look, just try to connect with people and get them to our on-site salespeople. But as we return to...
Well, hang on. Here's why, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Because salespeople are sitting in the models doing nothing and we're taking their walk-in traffic. All right. So if you were super busy and couldn't be on the phone with someone for 45 minutes doing the sales process, you had to move them quickly. Right. Well, now we're returning to normal. So just so everybody understood.
Yeah. As you return to normal, I mean, remember your job, and I get very passionate about this, but your job as the online sales specialist is to, ask these questions like we were saying, and then get them to select one and move them to that specific home that you've talked about with them or that community that you've talked about with them. So appointment getter, not an order taker, appointment getter, not an appointment setter. Those are some things to think about. Yeah.
One of the final questions, unless you guys got some more, bring them up to us. Post them now. We're gonna wrap it up here. But Sarah's asking, what's a good OSC team schedule for 2 people and days off? So I love this question because a lot of people are kind of scratching their head on what works. So Jen, you've set these up 7 different ways. So
and there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but man, I'm so cryptic today. Killing, skinning cat.
Killing, skinning, a lot of violence. She's been cooped up for a long time, folks.
But typically with 2 people, you would do, both on Monday through Friday. You rotate weekends. The person that works the weekend, if it's their weekend on, they maybe have a flex day during the week that they're off. You could do it like that. So, some people do where they do Monday through Friday. The person works the weekend and they have 2 days off a week. But you really need to look at call volume. Look at your leads. When are your leads at the highest? You don't want to have a flex day off on your highest call volume days. So make sure you're paying attention to that. Everybody should be working Mondays and Fridays usually, because those are like the busiest. So, but yeah, rotating weekends is usually how it goes.
And here's what I'd say too, is you pay attention to the rhythm. Everybody has a different working with rhythm and when they're most productive. So some people walk in the door and say, I'll kill it from X this time to this time, or I don't mind working the weekends because my family situation is different than yours. And we set a lot of appointments on the weekends. Right. So you guys will kind of figure out the balance. Here's the thing though. Like I saw Andy said, we both start at 2, we both start at 8 and work till whenever. You don't have to start at 8. I mean, we don't, unless you want to. There's not a lot happening at 8. You're getting like busy work done at 8. So if you're starting, peak rhythm for prospects is like 10 to 6 at 30. Okay. That's the money hour, the golden hours of working for online sales. So we just got to make sure if you got a team that's covered. You don't want both people working from 8 to 5 and being done. So you just got to make sure you got good coverage and then pay close attention to when leads are coming in, when calls are coming in. That's the other thing too, is remember chat. If you said that, some people go, well, chats come in at 12 o'clock at night. That's because your chat is on. And that's because you're giving them an option. If you turn that off and you made it go to a live form, it's just a form, and customers don't have expectations to get a response at 12 midnight.
Yes. So turn your chat off if you're not able to chat, right away.
Sarah says, besides CallRail or any other apps recommended for teams. So CallRail is just a tracking tool. Obviously your CRM is a tracking tool. Each needs to you need to have your own video, emails. You could look at some calendaring items, but that's usually better done just through a Google sheet or something like that if you're trying to bounce back and forth. Jen, what other stuff?
Well, here's one thing that comes to mind, Sarah, is if you're working in a team and you're both remote, so you're like not going to an office together, especially right now, I think it's important that you have access to like video, Zoom calls. You should be having team huddles every week to check in. So make sure that you're staying connected virtually that way if you're not like in an office together, because that's important.
You got to force it sometimes.
Yeah.
We just had this conversation this morning with the builder where he goes, I just don't feel like we get the same connection because everybody's not in the office. And I said, how many Zoom calls are you doing? And he's like, not very many. I was like, you got to force it. You just got to force it and you'll feel better. Okay. So Sue asked this and then we'll finish up with this question. But then as I'm answering this, I want you guys to be thinking, here's our final question out to the audience. What's one thing that you started doing during COVID-19, both personal or professional, some new habit, something that you started doing that you love and you're going to continue when things go back to normal next week? Let's say I'll go back to normal next week. So I want you guys to answer that question. Think thoughtfully, answer it. Sue says, what do you say to someone who's worried about prices and values will go down because of what's happening in the economy? Listen, we're hearing this. We're seeing it. We're starting to see builders advertise deals, discounts, and incentives. I get it. We're hearing the online sales world having to answer this question, and we're hearing salespeople having to answer this question because customers are out bargain shopping. This is how the framework for me. So first of all, the framework and objections is always just absorb it. Remember, it's not about you, Sue. It's just about a customer trying to get the best deal. Then you want to really take and use a disruptive statement. Okay. When you're responding back to them, something disruptive is something they don't expect. Right. And then you're going through this process again and continue the conversation. So I'm going to absorb that. And usually by absorbing it, I say a phrase like, oh yeah, me too. I'm looking for deals too. You would not believe the deals I got from Nordstrom the other day. I bought a suit jacket for $100 and a nice $130 shirt for $34. The deals are out there everywhere. However, we're just not really seeing that, especially in new homes. We're not experiencing that. In fact, we sold 24 homes last month, or we sold, 32 homes in April, or we sold 12 homes in April, which is basically what we normally sell. So while I understand that you're looking for the best deal, and I would do the same as a home builder now, we're just not there yet. Well, this builder's doing it down the street, or that builder's doing it down the street. And you just go, I wonder why.
Interesting.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. People are going to be out bargain shopping, but most people don't roll the dice on their dream home. They're not going to make a decision, yes or no, on
Right.
$5,000 discount here or there. They're just shopping to shop. And those are usually negotiators that negotiated before. Just the negotiators are coming out of the woodwork more than they ever have before, thinking they're going to get a house for half price. And so once you educate a customer in a way that's, helpful, that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's all you got to do. So, all right. So Brian says he's going to get a better office with nicer walls and shelves. I like your card there, Brian. That looks good. You could do that. Andy says working from home. Oh, yeah. A lot of builders and people said, we're not letting anybody work from home. They've changed their tune.
Yes.
As they've seen this.
That's been interesting to see some,
Yeah. What else are you guys doing? We'll leave us. What else are you guys doing during COVID that you're going to continue post-COVID? Jen, I'll ask this question to you in front of the public.
So,
what are you going to do?
Yeah. So I am going to continue soul care. Not self-care.
Oh, jeez. Oh, this got
soul
deep.
care. I'm getting deep. Soul care. And what I mean by that is having more time for myself to do, like, to run, to listen to really great podcasts, to read more, to do gardening, all of these things, good for your soul things that I always seem to kind of put on the back burner. Yeah. I'm going to continue that. One thing I'm going to get rid of is my gray hair. I'm not going to keep that. I'm not going to keep that after, post COVID. So I'm gonna get my hair done.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, that's good. Melissa says her stand-up desk is on the way. That's good.
Nice.
Kim's gonna keep walking and spinning.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna keep eating while in a Zoom meeting. Yeah, eat while you're in the meeting. Why not? Right. Here's the thing that I'm gonna keep. Well, I shouldn't say keep doing. Here's what I'm gonna keep doing that I did during COVID that I'm going to do after. I'm going to keep telling my son that they're not having tournaments for basketball.
Oh, right.
I'm just going to keep saying that. They may start it all up. I'm just going to be like, I don't know what happened. We don't have anything going on.
Yeah.
No sports on the weekends.
Haven't heard.
Yeah. Dang, maybe I'm not getting the messages. I don't know. Ooh, what a break. That was nice to take a little break from competitive sports.
It though?
My son, the professional athlete. So, hey, we just love being able to tune into to Facebook Live with all of you guys. So join us again soon. If you haven't already, head over to doyouconvert.com. Be sure to sign up for the email newsletter. We like to send out all our goodies, market-proof marketing, over 100 episodes on, your favorite podcast station. We do newsletters. We do videos. Jen is going to get back to opt-in, I'm sure, soon.
I'm missing my online people talking. Yes, that is gonna be happening soon.
We put that show on hiatus because we couldn't get all of her, people who help her get that together in the same place because of social distancing.
And I was having both personal and professional bandwidth issues in my home office, which I have corrected and fixed. So
yes, you're streaming through. It's amazing.
I'm not in Australia anymore, so
that's
opt-in
good.
will be back happening.
So keep on keeping on, guys. Just remember, you are essential. Okay.
Yes.
Every single one of you are essential. You are valued, and we just want you to go out there every day and prove your worth to your organization. No time to slack off. No time to ease off. Why? Because there's a line out the door of people waiting to take your job.
Amen.
Okay. So we're going to get serious. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you soon.
See you guys.